Welcome back, Truth Nation. We're taking your questions today on the program, and our next question comes in from Mariella from Farmhouse, Connecticut. Mariella asks, Scott, my kids have been getting into new music recently. I was looking through their room, and I found the latest album from the band Cyborg Funeral. I had wondered if you had ever come across this band, if you knew of them, or perhaps had any insight on their latest songs and albums. I'm very concerned, as the one that I found in my children's rooms was entitled Shingle My Dingus, and I wondered if this perhaps had to do with occult sacrifices or perhaps reptilian or cyborg influences on my children's lives. Thank you, Mariella, for sending in this question. Truth Nation, this is good. This is why it's good that you come to me with these questions, because normal sources are not going to give you the information that you need to keep your kids safe. Yes, Mariella. Yes, in fact, you should be very concerned about what your kids are listening to. I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating because a lot of parents don't understand sufficiently. Whatever your children are listening to, you shouldn't listen to it. You shouldn't understand their tastes or ask questions to see if it's fitting or decent. No, Truth Nation, it is fundamentally different and bad. Remember when you were their age, you listened to wholesome songs such as the Beatles, Cherry Bomb. You can't always get what you want to. The Rolling Stones. We had these positive role models in our lives. But kids these days, they're listening to things like Shingle My Dingus, as Mariella brought up, by bands like Cyborg Funeral. Now, looking at the cover of this album, we can already see the problems that are emerging. This figure on the left with his bright red appearance obviously is a subtle subliminal symbol of communism, which is obviously being boosted in these songs with titles such as Share and Share Alike. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how they get to your children. Remember, music these days is not like music used to be. Music these days is trying to get your children to be rebellious and evil. My suggestion is you take their music and you listen to it backwards and you see what words you can discern from it then. Most likely, looking at the cover of this album, what you will find in this song will be references to communism in a positive light. You'll find the interests of big business. As you can see, this man on the cover, he is wearing a suit, which is obviously a lobbying attempt by big business to reach your children and convince them that big business is not only good and profitable, but that they should sell their soul, and your pets' souls to big business for a burger and fries. Let me say that again. These people are trying to convince you to sell your soul, your children's souls, and your pets' very souls for a large burger and fries. That, ladies and gentlemen, is utterly despicable. This is why you need to be very careful about these things in your children's lives. The music they listen to. Remember, when we were growing up, we had positive role models and influences in our music. We were not taught to simply be obedient servants of the machine. We had bands like Rage Against the Machine. Now they're not even being subtle about it, ladies and gentlemen. They literally have a band called Cyborg Funeral, which is going to encourage your children to find your integrated smart home device that is sitting in your house, perhaps right at this very moment. They will then duct tape that to their abdomen and become cyborgs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we've talked about cyborgs before. They are very dangerous. It's very concerning. The only way, once they have begun the process of converting into cyborgs, either by possessing an iPod player, using the MP3 file format, or perhaps having an account on so-called social media, which we know is rife with bots and trolls. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We've talked about this before. What brought trolls back? We had them on the verge of extinction. Our bridges were finally safe, but they came back. And what brought them back? It was social media, parents not being careful about what they were giving to their children. And then we have trolls again. We have trolls under the bridges in our own states in a civilized country, ladies and gentlemen. It's a disgrace. Now, Mariella, what can you do that will help your children understand how to make more positive choices in music, in entertainment, and perhaps how can you bridge the divide between you and your children? Now, many so-called parenting advice boards will advise you to talk to your children. This is an interesting strategy, and I will take it and adapt it thus. You do want to talk to your children. Yell at them. Tell them to get out here now. Then I want you to retrieve all of this music, whatever they are into at the moment. Pile it in the middle of your living room and burn it in front of them. Now, while this may seem like a drastic move, it's absolutely necessary, because if you don't do this, they could become cyborgs. They could become part of the cyborg empire. You're doing this for their own good. Keep repeating that to yourself. They're going to get angry at you, but much like drugs, once the addiction phase wears off, they'll come to appreciate you as a person. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, the only good reaction is an overreaction. You can never react too much to the dangers to your children and your pets. Thank you, Mariah, for coming to us with this question. We hope this helps you and that you and your children and your pets have a safer and better existence because of the information that we gave you today.